10th of March 2023. In this news flash, I want to talk about what's happening between Saudi and Iran. This is a big thing. And I've been talking about Russia's involvement in normalizing relationships between the Arabian countries for a while. And China has also entered into that room, and through China's participation, we get this news today. Iran and Saudi Arabia sign an agreement to resume relations, plan to reopen embassies within 2 months. Ties between Tehran and Riyadh were cut in 2016 after a Shiite cleric was executed in Iran. Saudi diplomatic missions were then attacked in Iran. Now, all in all, this is a major thing, and we need to take note of it. This is another element in what I call the global revolution. The relationship between Saudi and Iran is something that is going to be a major problem for America, and we must keep a close watch on this. The Americans is definitely going to stir up some shit there. Definitely. Then we have this tweet from Pepe Escobar. Now this guy is very knowledgeable on the Middle East, and he says, Iran and Saudi Arabia will finally reactivate diplomacy. Both may become BRICS Plus members. West Asia integration in the house. This is really a big thing. Now, I listened to Alexander and Alex on the Duran, and Alexander made some interesting points. And he said that, although there's no facts to support that, he has a suspicion that Iran has agreed to take nuclear off the table, and that is one of the components and elements that was needed to get this deal going with Saudi. And the fact that Russia has also agreed to supply Iran with those fighter jets could also be because Iran said they'll pull the nuclear option off the table. But now you must think about this. Just think for a moment. Iran and Saudi gets into a good relationship. Now, Iran has most probably offered to take the nuclear option off the table, but it would want something in exchange from Saudi. And there's a suspicion that peace in Yemen was on that table. And now, with Iran and Saudi normalizing relations, Saudi don't need the protection from the Americans anymore. That is really something to take into consideration, because that makes that American basis in Saudi redundant. Furthermore, there has been talks between Saudi, Iran, Iraq, and Syria and Turkey to normalize that relationship. And Turkey and Russia has already said the American troops must get out of Syria. Now, with Iran, Iraq, Saudi, and Syria normalizing relationships, that American troops in Syria is all of a sudden going to be very isolated. One of the questions that you must ask yourself is how they're going to manage their logistic lines, because they can only get to those people either through Syria or through Iraq or through Turkey, and those options are going to go off the table. This is really a big thing for the whole Middle East. We need to keep an eye on it. And then there's this tweet. So much for Biden administration. Saudi does not need any US protection anymore with the normalization of the Saudi-Iran diplomatic relationship. We are seeing the final lap of the dying US dollar as a global reserve currency. And he is on the money there, because Saudi and Iran are most probably going to end up in BRICS. And the Russians have already said that they are working on a reserve currency for BRICS that will be commodity backed, a basket of commodities, most probably gold and oil, and there is rumors that that basket could include grain. Now, with the biggest oil producers in BRICS, why would they take dollars for their oil? They're going to take the BRICS currency, and they're already doing deals in their own currencies. The Americans dropped the ball, and their days of being the global terror is over. Ukraine will be, historians will see Ukraine as the hill on which the Western Empire chose to die. Mark my words on that one. And we have this. Until recently, it was unthinkable that these mortal enemies would establish diplomatic relations. Now it happened. Really incredible. There is a lot of things that are going to pivot around here, and China played a major role in it. And that is a good thing, because the Russians is working with the Iranians and the Syrians and the Turks. And now China, because China visited Saudi a few days ago, one of his first international visits. And then we have this now. So those two, Russia and China, are playing their cards well. But they are the adults in the room. And then we have this from Rubio Twills. So will this help their neighbors who really need peace and decent life? The constantly bombed, downtrodden and starved people of Yemen, Gaza and Syria. Ask those at the top who pose for photos and are served the finest food and teased by servants wearing gloves and masks. I am quite sure we're going to see the end of a lot of the conflict. Because if Saudi stops the aggression against Yemen, Yemen is over. That is done. It's finished. That one is gone. If the Americans is out of Syria, it will take between Iraq, Syria and Turkey and the Russians be a short space of time, and those ISIS mongrels will be stopped and shattered in Syria. The next move is Israel. Israel better be on its toes, because they will find themselves in a very precarious position there. I don't know how Israel is going to handle that problem with the Palestinians. They need peace there. They really need peace there. And what do you know? The US seeks to slam the door on Iran's access to global finance. Sanctions on 39 entities, many from the UAE and Hong Kong, are part of what Washington claims is a shadow banking network hiding Tehran's threat with trade with foreign customers. Iran cultivates complex sanctions evasion networks where foreign buyers, exchange houses and dozens of front companies cooperatively help sanction Iran companies to continue to trade, claimed Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Ademo. Sanctions were slammed by Beijing, which has also seen of its firms targeted by the US for export of Iran's petrochemicals. The decisions are typical unilateral sanctions and illegal long-arm jurisdiction, which have no basis in international law. Liu Pengyu, spokesman for China's embassy in Washington. And this is what the Americans do. They sanction. They can threaten and they can sanction. But that sanction hammer of theirs is fast losing weight because the rest of the world is trading with one another and pay no attention to the American sanctions. This is the interesting times that we are in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.